This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, great. This is the August 12th, 2021 Committee on Committees meeting. I'd like to call it to order. It is 6:02, and the first item on the agenda is roll call, and I can attest that I am here, and Terry is, Councilor Berthelot is here as well. The next topic on our agenda is opportunity for the public comment. Esteemed Town Clerk, has anyone reached out in interest to comment?
No, Mr. Bruder, we have no public comment this evening, of which I'm aware.
Thank you. Next up is the approval of our last regular meeting on June 10th. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Awesome. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Okay, and next up we have candidate interviews. And looks like up first we have, now, is it Shamin? Okay, can you please correct me?
I waited respectfully. Shamim Patwa.
Shamim, thank you. And please call me Sam. So just for everyone who's here for an interview, I'll just say this one time and then I'll get right into it. But what we typically do is have our questions. Everyone's welcome to stay on and listen to all of them. It's a public hearing. You can also sign off as, once you're done. After we're done with the interviews, then one of our agenda topics will be going through the human services charge. So if you're interested in watching that, more than welcome. But you're under no obligation to stay for the whole meeting whatsoever. And we very much appreciate everyone coming in and appearing virtually. I appreciate the town clerk in switching this format from being in person to being online, because then that means that links have to be sent and invites and creating a meeting and everything like that. So thank you, Sarah Ann, and thank you all for your flexibility. So with that, let's get started. So it looks like you're actually interviewing for the Human Services Advisory Committee itself. And what makes you want to volunteer with the committee?
So I am active in this town, and my understanding of this opening came through my volunteer work, or my appointment on the Mansfield Advocates for Children board. I am currently the Director of Student Support Services for the Mansfield Public Schools. I live in town, and I do a lot of work, partnership with Human Services, so I feel like it would be an appropriate connection for me.
Great. And how long have you been with the Mansfield Advocates for Children?
I actually have been involved with them. It's a little overwhelming how long. I was originally on the Mansfield Board of Ed for 13 years, and in that capacity, I was on the Mansfield Advocates for Children. When I became director, I rejoined them, and so I've been kind of involved with them. I'm afraid to say probably on and off for over 13 years, 14 years.
Great. And is there anything that you're particularly looking to do, or any project with the Human Services Advisory Committee? And the answer, you don't have to have one. I just was asking.
No, I think Human Services is a vital town agency. I see from the school perspective how important our relationship is, and I just want to be supportive.
Thank you. Yeah, we really appreciate the time you've given. see. Councilor Berthland, do you have any questions?
Sure. Thank you. Hi, Shamim. How are you?
Hi, Terry. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you so much for volunteering to do this. This has always been an important committee, but I think right now it's more important than ever as we're coming through, I guess is the right way to say it right now, with the pandemic, and making sure that the town is aware of the needs of the community, particularly the needs of children, and that we're appropriately reaching out, that we're not in a position of thinking, oh, just because we're not hearing from people, things must seem fine. My hope, I know people like you are super, super important for bringing ideas forward and making sure that with our own budget, but now with the federal money that's coming into town, that we're spending it appropriately. So please push us. Please make us work harder. I think that's what this committee should be doing.
Thank you, Terry. And yeah, I look forward to being an active member.
Do you have any questions for us?
No, I just appreciate anyone who gives their time to making this town be the city on the hill. So thank you very much for all that you do. I know how hard volunteering and juggling everything else that's going on in all of our lives is. So when people put their energy into these kinds of things, I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And like I said, you're more than welcome to stay on or sign off, whatever you see.
I will take my leave tonight, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye.
Okay. You know, what I should have said, and she may already know this with her involvement, for all the other candidates, the procedure that we'll do tonight is after the interview, all the candidate interviews, the committee on committees, Councilor Berthlat and I, in this case, will take a vote as to whether or not to recommend you to the town council, and then, provided that the town council approves the referrals, then that's when the official designation into the committee that you're joining will happen. Okay, so the next candidate interview we have is Michael Carroll for the Cemetery Committee.
Yep, I'm here, Sam.
How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good, thank you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been in town, and what interests you in joining the Cemetery Committee?
Yep, I've been in town for going on 3 years now, but I'm not unfamiliar with this area. Even though I was born in Illinois, I was raised in Eastern Connecticut, everything from Stafford Springs down to Norwich and everything in between, Wellington, you name it. So this has always felt like home no matter where I've gone. I keep coming back here. And currently, I run a nonprofit organization called Rediscovering History, Inc. We are a cemetery preservation and restoration group. We work on neglected cemeteries throughout Connecticut, parts of Rhode Island, and into Massachusetts, doing everything free of charge, utilizing volunteers from any age range and skill level. And we do it because we appreciate and love history, and we're going to be bringing that to Mansfield. And I know it's been brought up by someone within the town, and if so, if Rediscovering History came up in a meeting, of course I would recuse myself from that discussion and or vote, for partial, to be fair. But it's something that I love, and we're going to continue doing it and building a grassroots network.
I'm sorry if I missed it, but how long have you been with that group?
So we started in October of last year. We became a nonprofit through the state of Connecticut in March 31st of this year. However, my research work has been going back. This is my 16th year in historical research. And I have a knack of being able to find information that others thought didn't exist or just didn't know how to look for it. And even when it comes to gravestones, I can pretty, I'm not an expert, but I can find them pretty quickly. And I'm talking about 4 to 6 inches in the ground or even deeper. So even though I'm the director of the group, I'm right in the ground. I'm a little mole. I can get in the ground with the best of them, and I enjoy it.
I know this may seem odd, but she enjoys going and trying to find old graves, but not, digging or anything like that. She's not an expert. She's not trying to do that. And so I know how much work that takes, and
Yeah.
what is art and a skill to doing that. So thank you, Counselor.
And it definitely is an art and a skill set. And I'm no expert, even though 16 years worth of research and coming up on a year of fully doing this full time, we're still learning. And we have a network where some of the people have been doing it 30, 40 years, and they're still learning. So everything we do is to the national standards. And so being able to bring that to Mansfield and help Mansfield. And what I like to do is do a historic, keep history alive, keep it present, make it more community involved, have people visit cemeteries and do different tours and just really educate.
Awesome. It sounds like you got some really good ideas and are looking to hit the ground running.
Absolutely.
And Counselor Berthelot, did you have any questions?
Sure. Hi, Michael. Thank you for volunteering. This is one of my favorite committees, the cemetery committee. I think our local cemeteries bring a lot of beauty to our town as well as history. And so I very much appreciate the work of the committee. Do you live here in town?
Yes. So I'm actually over at Village at Freedom Green, right next to Pudding Lane.
Sure. Yeah, I often take my daughter on bike rides around town, looking, and then want to walk through the cemeteries to enjoy them. So thanks for volunteering, and thanks for bringing some expertise with you.
You're welcome. And that's the thing we're trying to drive across. People go A to B down a road, whether it's to work or a daily grind or, even to the store. And most people don't stop and look at the things right on the side of the road. And your history is right there, and far too often, and just a wide smattering of towns will disregard the cemeteries. Out of sight, out of mind. It's so much easier. And they say, we don't have a budget, we don't have interest. Here we are saying, yes, we do this out of our pocket and we do have interest from the townspeople. Let's not let the past become our past. Let's keep it into the present.
Really,
well, thank you.
Yes, thank you. And do you have any questions for us?
You said earlier, just a few minutes ago, that the town council will be receiving recommendations and so forth. When will they meet? And then when will people be notified from that point on?
Sure. So the town council's next meeting is not this Monday, the 16th. It is the following Monday, which, if I'm doing the math right, is the 23rd.
We're not
And
meeting though.
We're not meeting.
Sam, we're not meeting on that day,
That's right. So it'll be the second. Go ahead, Terry.
it'll be in September.
So the second Monday of the month is the 13th of September. And logistically, I'm not sure how soon after that the town will get in contact with you just to confirm everything. But you're more than welcome to also watch the the meeting live or see the video. And it'll be, what I typically do is, as long as the referrals from here are uncontested, then I'm going to ask for it to be placed on the consent agenda, which would
Okay.
make it in the beginning of the meeting. But if with that, it could come off the consent agenda if anyone had a
Objection.
yeah, if they wanted to discuss any of the candidates or something like that.
Got you. And one more quick question. Some of my colleagues and I, we have a closer connection, and so we talk about a lot of state level things. And one thing we're talking about is a state oversight board, and there isn't currently one. And again, it's to where cemeteries are essentially allowed to be neglected. And we know in the Connecticut General Assembly, there are rules and laws pertaining to neglected cemeteries, but again, it goes by the wayside. Is this something that we could discuss as a town within the committee to maybe have more accountability to not allow the cemeteries to fall into disrepair? And not just overgrowth, but stone care, so any fallen or broken can be fixed on a more frequent basis.
I mean, certainly that would be something your committee, I would believe, have jurisdiction or oversight as to discuss. And then we've certainly at the town council gotten recommendations or requests from committees. So if there's that motivation, or there's that consensus, through your committee that you want to do that, we certainly love to have that kind of interaction from our volunteers, because that's what makes Mansfield who it is. Everyone's working for what they know. I would defer to you, for what you thought was best, type deal. And so that's where the recommendations from the committees are helpful to the town council.
Perfect. Well, let's get to work then.
All right. Well, thank you.
Looking forward to it.
Like I said, you're more than welcome to stay on. I just ask that if you do, you just mute your mic.
I absolutely will.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. So that looks like next we have Sylvie.
Yes, I'm here.
How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. And you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Oh, here comes the thunderstorm.
Looks like we've got you down for interview on the Commission on Aging.
Yes, I'm quite interested in that. I've been in Mansfield since 1987. And I'm retired now, but most of my working life I've spent working with people in some way trying to help them. A lot of that with the Department of Labor in the unemployment area. Most of the unemployment claims that did not go through smoothly came through my department, so I was a problem solver. So basically, I've been a problem solver all my life, and mostly with people. I see a problem, not necessarily a problem, but an environment that I've seen in Mansfield. Because of having a large student body, there's a lot of, and with the rest of the country too, all over the country, a very youth-oriented environment, but with an increasingly large senior population. And somehow I don't want to see us getting the short end of the stick.
Yeah,
and I'm
on. You have support from the town council on that for sure.
Well, I'm currently living in Rolling Hills, which is an over 55 community out at Four Corners. And there's a lot of concern with people in our neighborhood. We have approximately 225 homes. And there's a lot of concern from some of the older members about what happens when I can't live here anymore. Nobody seems to feel that there's enough next step housing for seniors. The place, there's Juniper Hill, and currently I was just told recently that their waiting list could be 5 years. And it seems, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt.
Go ahead.
I didn't realize that it was that long of a wait list.
Well, that's what I've heard from a couple of different people, and I know of one lady who waited 2 years plus to get in. Basically, someone has to die before there's an opening. And I know there just is a shortage of affordable next step living areas in this area. And I'm personally in a situation, my family lives in Michigan. If and when the time comes when I can't take care of myself and have to go somewhere, that's going to be a big step. I'd rather stay here in Connecticut, but where would I go? So I'd like to, I've always been accused of having strong opinions, usually based on some knowledge, but I need a place to express those opinions to put my 2 cents worth in, I guess.
Thank you.
And that's basically, as I say, I've done mostly worked in one way or another, trying to make people's lives easier. And I'd like to help continue that on from the middle-aged people to elder people.
And I see from our packet that you're also the editor of the Rolling Hills newsletter. Is that still true?
That's correct. Oh, yes, it is.
Yeah, we certainly need a problem solver like you when it comes to.
Well, the newsletter isn't anything big. It's usually 10 or 12 pages, and it just circulates here within our 200 family area. But we have a fairly active schedule of activities that's all overseen within the area here. We're a neighborhood, we're a community. So I hear a lot of concerns from other people. As the editor, maybe a little bit more than some people, but a lot of their concerns come through me. And I feel that I could be a little bit of a spokesperson for the older people in the area.
Sounds like you're getting on the right committee. Councilor Berthelot, do you have any questions?
Sure, thank you. Sylvie, thank you so much for volunteering. It sounds like you'll be very, very perfect for this. Thinking about housing, thinking about transportation. It's true to say most of the country is just in denial, or the plan is no plan. So pushing us as a town to think about these things and realizing that nobody's going to step in and magically make problems go away, that we have to think about it at the local level. So I certainly appreciate your ideas and your energy. And obviously you have a great deal of wisdom. So thank you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Do you have any questions for us?
No, I don't. I think they've been pretty well covered by the other candidates.
Great. Well, like I said, you're more than welcome to stay on. And if you do, I just asked to leave the next.
I think I'm going to pass on that because we're getting hit with all kinds of stuff out here.
I'm hearing the thunder outside my window, so.
That is thunder and lightning and all kinds of stuff. So I will bid you good night. And thank you again.
Sam, did we lose you? How about Terry? Are you still there?
I'm still here, but I'm under sunny skies. It sounds like you guys have a big storm up there.
Yes, my connection is fine. Sam's screen is frozen.
You want me to text him and just say,
Yeah,
let him know that?
why don't we take a, oh, he just turned his screen off. Yeah, why don't you give him a text and we'll just take a brief recess here for a moment or two while we sort it out.
Okay.
I lost power.
Well, I think we're still here. I can hear you just fine now.
I'm having trouble getting my camera back on, but looks like we'll just have to do it this way. Can everybody hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay.
This is Sarah Ann. I can hear you.
Okay.
There you go.
Oh. All right, so I think that we were signing off with Sylvie. I'm not sure if she's still on. I know there was a brief recess taken.
Yeah, Sylvie has left, and you're on to your next now.
Okay. Are we still being recorded?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Sorry about the interruption, everybody. I don't have power at my house right now, but I do have my phone, so I'm able to continue the.
Oh no, Sam, did we lose you again? How about you, Terry? Are you able to hear me?
I'm still here.
Okay. You're the way that I can test to make sure that
Meeting. It looks like we have
the rest-
Joe
There it is. All right.
Emmenheiser, if I'm saying that correctly, as acronym of. I'm sorry, what did you say, Sarah Ann?
I'm sorry, Sam, you cut out for a good long time there, maybe 10, 15 seconds, and we got some spotty audio on your return.
I apologize. I think that my Wi-Fi was cutting back on, so I've turned that off. So hopefully the technical issues will not hamper our meeting anymore.
Okay.
What I was saying was, it looks like we have Joe next. I don't see him on the list of participants. I did see him before I cut out, and I wonder if he's also lost power. So maybe he'll sign back on if he can. But I think for now we'll pass, and if we need to, we can always reschedule. How's that sound?
Certainly works for me, Sam. And next you have David Stevens, but he was not able to attend tonight. And I just want to note for the members of the committee that David Stevens and Sylvie Delamotte were both applying for Commission on Aging. There's one vacancy available at this time. Mr. Stevens did indicate that he had a work conflict tonight, but would be able to attend next month if you wanted to interview him next time around.
I don't know if you happen to have this information handy, but is there like an alternate position available, or is it just the one position that is available?
There is just this one position that is available on the committee at this time. a commission
Okay.
rather at this time. Yeah.
Okay, so looks like the next thing we have on our agenda, we just lost power again, is old business with the Human Services Advisory Committee charge. And if everyone, well, so I'm pulling up the charge that we have right now. Is there any, like, for those of us, or for those of you who are listening that have not been part of this, this is a draft that we are looking at to kind of not only update because it hasn't been looked at in such a long time, but also to put some work into some of the areas we identified in previous meetings. And it looks like we have Pat Schneider on the phone, or in the meeting. Pat, are you
Yes,
still
I'm
available?
here. Yeah, I'm still here.
Perfect. Have you had a chance to look at the draft in its current form?
I have, and it does look good. I can't see any changes. The only thing I might recommend is that you invite the chair of the current chair of the Human Service Advisory, or get the draft out for comment to the current members, for discussion. That would be the only recommendation that I would have, since they haven't seen it yet.
Great. I just want to ask Sarah Ann, is that something that, obviously I'm glad that it's here so that if we had any additional corrections, and I still want to check in with Councilor Berthelot, but is that something that we have the ability or the authority to do, to say to the committee that it will be impacting? Can they also take a look at this before we send it up to the town council for their review?
Yeah, so what I think you could do, Sam, if the committee would like to, is to make a motion basically to refer it to the Human Services Advisory Committee for review and comment. And then they can take that up at their next meeting and send it back to you with any thoughts they might have.
And their next meeting is scheduled for September, so.
And in terms of the mechanics, Sam, I would handle that on my end. I'd put on a cover memo stating the referral motion from this meeting and send along that draft revised charge to them.
So this is Terry. I guess you guys know that. I think it would be just as Pat said, the sort of two steps are important here. One is for the committee on a whole to review it and to make recommendations for change, but also that somebody from the committee, most ideally the chair, come speak to us about the current charge and how it should be changed, if it should be changed, why it should be changed. And as I recall from our last conversation, one of the things we were definitely talking about was removing the various, how it says 2 members of this group, 2 members of that group, and instead focusing on making it more new people rather than members of groups, so that we're not impacting members of other groups, but it wouldn't necessarily be from other groups.
Yeah, and it looks like the composition/membership section has been updated so that, for instance, the first point says 2 members who are advocates for or consumers of education, health, and/or safety services for youth and/or young children. Is that what you're referring to, Terry?
Yeah. Did we do that?
We did. we did.
Okay.
That's been incorporated into the draft.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Another.
It's no longer calling from MAC. It's just folks who, all right. But didn't we ask that it be ideally, but not necessary, that the membership look like this? So my concern is that we won't get a full membership because we can't find somebody who fits one of these categories. And rather than having less people on, it would be better to have more people on, even if we can't fit all the categories. So this is an ideal thing, but not a necessary thing.
And I think from my recollection that what you're saying we did touch on, but I thought we had still decided to go forward with the rather than have it be like a specific board, that we'd make it as broad as possible. I mean, one member is of the faith leader community, members who are advocates for or consumers of affordable or workforce housing, and I feel comfortable with it being this broad, but also not so broad where it just says any volunteer. I mean, we can certainly, of the 9 members, if we want to have one of the members be like an open position, I'd be in favor of that. How do you feel about that, Terry?
Maybe this is something we need to hear from the committee, but my sense for them is that they have a hard time getting people to fill the particular slots. And so thinking about who, I think this is ideal, what we're trying to draw from here, but it might mean, that we get people who represent kids, but that we're missing another group, and that's just having an open seat will make it harder to get quorums, harder to have meetings. Anyway, maybe it's just something more to talk about, is whether this will work, whether having these particular spots.
Well, I really like what you're saying, and I'm remembering more what the discussion, and I agree that I think a motion would be in order to refer this to the committee, the Human Services Advisory Committee, for their input. Obviously it would be up to us to make the changes, but certainly putting a emphasis on the composition / membership, if they felt like the parameters that that we're recommending, that they don't have any additional input or concerns or anything like that, I think that's smart to hear from them, because they're the ones who are dealing with this, and that's a really good idea, Terry.
So as I'm hearing it, so we'll do a motion to send it to the committee for their review, and then we'll ask that after their review that they come to our October meeting, the chair and anybody else who would like to come talk to us about the overall charge.
Yeah, and in fact, I wouldn't necessarily want to put a timeline on them in case they cancel their September meeting, or if they get into the weeds and want to make a bunch of recommendations. I would hope that it wouldn't take more than 1 or 2 meetings, but I'll make the motion. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would rather get them back to us, because again, with the money, with the ARP money coming in.
Oh, right.
I don't want this to be something that I don't want them to prioritize this over that. So.
Right.
I would ideally like to see it back in October.
Okay. Do you want to make the motion? Do you want me to make it?
Could you make it?
Oh, yeah.
I'll second it.
I'd like to move to refer the draft of the Human Services Advisory Committee charge that we have before us in its current version. Refer that to the Human Services Advisory Committee itself for their input and any recommendations they would like to have, specifically looking at the composition of membership, with the intention of having it referred back to us for our review at our October meeting.
And that the chair and others who would like to participate in that meeting we'll invite them to that meeting. We'd like them to
Yes.
come to that.
Yep.
Gal, second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Okay. So,
Okay, I'm
Yep.
sorry, excuse me, Sam. Joe, I'm not sure if you noticed, but he has returned and is at the ready for his interview when you are.
okay, perfect. I had not, and I appreciate you pointing that out. And so, given the weather, Joe, I don't know if you got kicked out like I did. I had to call in using my phone, but we appreciate you coming back. We'd like to move forward with the interview if you're still ready tonight. Oh.
Well, he was still there.
I
He had
still
put
see
it-
him.
Okay,
Oh,
I'm
there he
here.
is.
I'm here. Wow, sorry about that. Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
no problem. I lost power myself, and I'm calling in on my phone.
That
and
was
I
my
see that-
second plan, but this appeared to be working well enough.
Great. So, Joe, why don't you give us a little bit of information about yourself? I see that you're applying for the Agriculture Committee as an alternate.
Right, applying for the Agricultural Committee, and it sounds like the only opportunity is an alternate. I just moved to Mansfield with my family last October. I'm an extension professor with UConn. I serve as the state extension livestock specialist and also teach courses on campus and in livestock management and livestock evaluation, essentially. So I travel the state and work with producers of all sorts of livestock species. My interest in the Agricultural Committee, I don't necessarily have a particular agenda. I just felt that it was a pretty good fit for a local service opportunity, and with the connections that I have around the state, hopefully could add some value to the committee and to some of the local programs. And then also for me, it's just a means to learn more people in the agricultural and also the local government scene. So those are my goals.
Great. It sounds like you have a really good background for this committee. And I know that it's one of our more active ones, or at least it's one of the ones that I get a lot of interesting information from. I myself don't have a background, but I have my own garden and some chickens and things like that. So, how long have you been a professor at or I think you said professor, and I'm
Right.
not in education, but at the UConn Extension?
I mean, I was hired by UConn a year ago. And
Oh, great.
actually, it was today, as a matter of fact, that I signed the contract.
Hey, congratulations.
Before that, I was in Vermont with the University of Vermont, and also did some adjunct teaching after that with the Vermont Technical College. I've been in Vermont since 2014.
Great. Well, Councilor Berthland, did you have any questions?
Sure, thanks. Joe, thank you so much for volunteering. This is a terrific committee. They're very active, and agriculture is part of our history, part of our future, and something folks care deeply about. I think you'll meet a lot of, it's going to be a terrific way to dive into the community and get to know people. So a great idea, and we're really happy to have you.
Thank you. Yeah, I've sat in on most of the meetings that have happened since I've been here. Just haven't participated officially.
We're glad to
Well,
have you.
yes, we very much appreciate the volunteers that we have in town and the expertise that they bring to these committees. Do you have any questions for us?
I don't. Most of the procedural questions that I had were answered by the other folks.
Great. Well, thank you for your time, and you're more than welcome to stay on if you would like. Otherwise,
Got a toddler to put to bed, so I'm going to run. But thank you very much, and sorry for the storm interruptions.
oh no, I had them myself, so you're not alone in that.
All right. Well, take care.
Good night. Okay, so looks like the next item on our agenda is new business with appointments and reappointments. And now, Sarah Ann, if you don't mind, I just had a question before we got into this part of it. You were saying that Mr. Stevens and Ms. Delamont are both applying for the one position, but that he isn't able to make it tonight. How would this is the first time that I've had it like this. What has been done in the past, if you can remember, or Councilor Berthelot?
Mary Ann, did
Yeah.
you want to try and answer that?
Yeah, I just that I don't have recollection of a past practice in this particular situation. And so I think that it's really entirely up to you. If you wanted to base it off of some application materials, that's up to you as well. I just want to note that in the packet, there is a communication from the chair of the Commission on Aging as well. So if you hadn't seen that, that might be something you want to know about, to consider about how to proceed. Again, about whether making a decision tonight or to hold off until the next meeting when you've had a chance to interview Mr. Stevens.
Gotcha. I do see that from John. And it looks like he had emailed back in June, so I appreciate you adding that to the packet. All right, so I think what I'd like to do then is at least give him the opportunity to interview as well, and hold off on our vote with the Commission on Aging, so that way we can have interviewed both candidates for the one position. Okay, so with that, is it easier to make one motion, Sarah Ann?
For the appointment section, I see what you're saying. I mean, you could just fly through all of them if you wanted, just as long as you assign names in the appointment section, and then you could do the entire reappointment section in one sweep if you wanted.
Okay. Sarah, excuse me. Councilor Berthelot, do you want me to make the motions?
Sure, that'd be great.
Okay. So I'd like to make the recommendation for appointment, Ms. Patwa, for the Human Services Advisory Committee, Mansfield Advocates for Children representative. Doesn't have term ending that I see right now.
Yeah, there are no terms for that. There are no terms for that committee, actually.
Oh, that's in the draft that we're looking at. Okay. I'd also like to recommend Mr. Emenheiser for the Agriculture Committee alternate position, term ending October 13th, 2023. And I'd like to make a recommendation for appointment of Mr. Carroll for the Cemetery Committee, term ending July 1st, 2024.
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
There we go. And Sarah, I don't need to do a motion, or do we or do I need to do a motion to table the Commission on Aging vote?
There's no need for you to do that. I know what your intent is, so I'll make sure to carry that forward for the next time.
I appreciate that. And I'd like to make a motion for reappointment for the Sustainability Committee for the term ending May 9th, 2025. Savannah Everett. I also like to make, in the same motion, recommendation for reappointment to the Board of Ethics, term ending June 30th, 2024, John DeWolf. And also a reappointment to the Cemetery Committee for terms ending July 1st, 2024, Christopher Landek, Armand Biron, Lisa Bovey.
I second that.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. Great. So is there any other business that either one of you know of that we need to address before the final agenda item? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion for adjournment.
I second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.